the theme of your remarks is the denial of reality by the intellectual class, that they simply don't notice the most apparent facts about the social problem. I think that's true in this country, too. There's a kind of blindness about the face of the problem and the desire to get beyond that to some more sophisticated analysis, a way really not to see the symptoms and to make them unimportant. And right at the end of your talk, you began to address why that is so, where that reflex comes from. And you quoted from T.S. Eliot. I'd like to know where that's from, and if you could enlarge on that theory a little bit.
Well, what I'm saying is that people don't like to follow the train of their thoughts because it can lead to ideas that superficially seem ungenerous. I mean, to hold, for example, criminals responsible for their acts seems ungenerous because it is a fact that most criminals come from unpleasant or difficult backgrounds, and of that there is no question. And so if you say, but nevertheless, whatever background you've come from, you are responsible for what you do, it does seem, at least superficially, to be an ungenerous response. Because most people who say it, most people in this room probably would have come from a relatively privileged background, or at least stable background. So they have not experienced what the criminal. So the criminal turns around and says, well, who are you to judge? You haven't lived through all this. On the other hand, at a deeper level, you are, of course, saying to the person, you are a man like me. There is no real difference between you and me. But as I said, it appears ungenerous. It can easily, and it can actually, at times, it can be ungenerous and unfeeling. So intellectuals prefer not to ascribe responsibility to people who are genuinely disadvantaged or who have been disadvantaged in some way. And if they do so, they lose caste with all the other people who think in that fashion.
The England that I grew up in seemed to be a very homogeneous society in the 60s, and I was at Cambridge in the 70s. I was interested to know what you think the impact of immigration has been on British society in the last 15 years.
I don't think the impact of immigration would have been so serious if we had not gone in for ideas of multiculturalism. If we had said that people come here and once, like it was in America, I don't know whether it still is, once you arrive in America, you become an American. If people had been told when you come here, you become British, as in fact happened to my mother. Nobody ever helped her. Nobody ever said, well, we must all learn German so that your mother doesn't feel not at home. And you mustn't laugh at this because, for example, when I come into the airport of my city, all the notices are for British citizens are up in English, Punjabi, Urdu, and Hindi, which quite clearly gives the message that all that has happened is that you have moved 8,000 miles, or whatever number of thousand miles it is. You haven't moved. You don't have to have moved mentally. Had we been less politically correct, I don't believe for a minute that there would have been so many problems. Incidentally, in France, there's a slightly different problem, in that the French rigidity of the labour system prevents the integration of large numbers of people of North African origin into French society. And if the labour laws were less rigid, they wouldn't have the problems that they have. At least I don't think so.
Would you comment on the recent